How are you doing?
Cool. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you very much. I've been kind of stumbling upon your videos for a while now. I started with Nothing Media at first.
Yeah.
And I, well, as long as there's someone really, but seems like I've been interested in this seeking for quite a while, a few years now, and got involved with two French guys that are now starting an ashram.
Oh, wow.
And I got very involved with them because I've been translating what they say in French and translating it in English, doing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But there was something that was kind of, like,
it's circular, right? It just kept on
going.
It
kept on going and going. It's like you're almost there.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I kind of feel like I'm not saying that what they say is wrong, but it's not radical enough. So I kind of, anyway, there was something missing. It's not missing really, but it's anyway. So I ended up starting listening to you and Frank McCaughey's videos too, like the kind of documentaries he did.
Yeah.
Anyway, that I have to say that at first I was kind of how can you say that? Challenged.
Yeah.
Getting either angry or nauseous or it's like but then just a few days ago I started kind of not obsessively as in I need to understand, but it's just like I can't stop listening to all your videos that you're doing,
Oh, wow.
And I don't know why it just happened. And at some point, I think even though there's not really something happening there, but you were talking with William and I could see this thing happening that, the story keeps on adding on it to itself to make it go on and on and on. And I don't know, something kind of, I think there was some sort of sentence that came to mind that was that even the tiniest movement is a story.
It is, yeah.
And the most subtlest of it, and even and ever since, there's kind of a loss of seeking. It's I don't know what's happening really. I don't know. All I can say is it appears that there's someone here.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't say that it's absolutely true.
So. Yeah.
Yeah. There's sometimes a few tensions coming up. It's like, what's going to happen? Or
nothing will happen because that's just another story.
Yes.
See, it's just coming up again. It's just that subtle thing, right? The subtle, everything that shows up doesn't really show up. It's actually a story. It's a narrative. It's your reality is a story. So everything in the realm of your reality is a story about something that's happening, but it's also not happening. That's why it's disorienting sometimes. That's why there's this confusion sometimes with that, right? Because there's this kind of like everything that appears is just an appearance of emptiness or nothing.
Yeah.
So everything that will come up right now, there's no now, even the now is a story trying to make the story real. But the word real is just another story. So there's nothing really real or unreal at the same time. It's all this fluctuations of nothing. It's not even fluctuating because fluctuating is just nothing. So everything that comes up is just this suspension of belief. The belief's beginning to crumble, right? The belief is beginning to, it's not believed anymore, right? It's like all of this that's coming out of my mouth right now is just a story as well.
Yes. And it's not denied either. It's like, it is apparently appearing.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's entirely, it's like I said, entirely true. It's
the unreal, it's the unknowable.
Yes.
It's the mystery, right? And the mystery that doesn't have a solution.
Yeah, it's entirely ungraspable. It is.
It is. Yeah. It's unknowable. It can't really be captured. It's boundless.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have any kind of condition or any kind of barrier. It completely doesn't have any barrier because it's like this openness.
No center. Yeah.
No center.
Yeah.
And what's being expressed here is just these words that are coming out is also at the same time infinite. It's empty, infinite. It doesn't have a center because the moment that you hear it, it vanishes.
Yeah.
And the response there also vanishes. So it vanishes into nothing. So nothing is everything. So everything that is appearing is actually nothing. So everything that you're thinking about right now is emptiness. It's all empty, 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 empty. And there's nothing that has any substance anymore. Nothing has any solidity. It's all transparently empty. And it's obvious, but it's not obvious for someone because the moment that you think it's obvious for you, then you just made it into a thing. It's a no thing. It's not a thing at all. So it's
it is kind of seen every time, but it's like, but there's no me really. It's kind of a habit that is,
and that's a circular thing. That's a circular thing, right? It's kind of like when I was telling William, that's a story. No, that's another story. That's a story. That's a story. No, that's a story. And there's nothing wrong with the story.
No.
But it's empty stories. It's not really real stories. The belief is a story. And it's just this stack. It's like a book of stories. Every page that you turn is a story. But the story is really waiting to release from the story. But that's just another story. So the story will never get out of the story because getting out of the story is just a story. So when the two guys that are building an ashram is creating a story to get out of the story, and it's just another story. So it goes into this circular story.
Yeah.
And it's a circular story that is infinite. But when it's seen that you are not the story, that you are not actually a you, that all of this is just seemingly happening, but it's not really happening. There's no mind, there's no thoughts. Because mind and thought are just a story.
This is kind of incredible, but it's really nothing is happening. It's like nothing is happening. It's talking, but it's nothing. And it's the first time I can actually really say it really out loud and
hooray.
It feels kind of, even though it's absolutely a story I'm about to say, but it's brand new. It's just a few days ago that I was like, oh, okay.
That's it. It's
so
empty. It's nothing.
So even talking about it, it's a story again, but it apparently it's kind of contracting a little bit just to be able to talk about it, but it's a story there.
Yeah, but even that contraction is also a story.
There's really nothing that is the tiniest move. This is the tiniest movement is a story. It's even saying it's thing. Nothing or it's empty, even that is a story.
It's just a story. Yeah.
It's
wow. There you go.
And it's at the same time utterly free. It is, even though it is a bit of a story there too, just to try to put words onto it, but there's this kind of a relief or release. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe both of them, but
even the end of a story is a story. This is the end of the story because it's seen that even the most subtle, tiniest little things is a story. So it's not taken seriously anymore because the one that's taking it seriously is also a story. So it's just lucidity. It's all lucid now. You're like, oh, wow. It's almost like curiousness now. There's just this curiosity, but nothing to figure out, nothing to find, nothing to know, no purpose, no meaning. It's just this openness. I use this analogy of an open house. So there's this open house and everything is allowed. There's no more doors. There's no more windows. It's just open. There it is. It's always this.
Yeah.
It's always this way. And there's the story seemingly running along with it. But since it's the story, it's not really running along with it. So it's really nothing.
No, because nothing. Yes. Same with, I was about to say, I can see that there's less of a tendency to project in the future, but even
because that's a story as well.
It is.
There's
of course,
no one projecting.
It was when it was appearing. It was appearing, and it was also a story. But you can't really talk about it anymore.
No,
you can't.
No.
I think that's why I like listening. It's because I don't feel the need to, I just felt like I really wanted to talk to you, but it's like a few hours after it was like, oh, but this is a story. It's like,
it is.
I booked, meeting with you, and just a few hours after, apparently a few hours after, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but there's not even a few hours ago.
No, that's actually.
So there's this running story that there's a history that you did that, but all of this without the story is just this. It's just this. And that's even a story, but it's a really subtle story in trying to express that nothing moves. Nothing.
No, because nothing changed.
Nothing changed.
Nothing moved. You can't say that anything really moved or changed because that's not true.
Or even the word true is not even true because there's no such a thing as true or false because those are just stories.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're right.
Oh, joy.
True or false are stories too, indeed.
They are, yeah. And reality is the biggest story. Well, that's just another story, but it's a story. So all of your reality is a story. Your history, your past, your born, your birthday, your childhood is a story. It's a radical story, isn't it, Doa? That nothing happens. But that's
Say that again. Sorry.
It's a radical story and nothing really happens. So all the story of the birth and death is kind of like, huh? That didn't happen. It's just a story because there's no memory.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
I had a one-on-one with someone, and I think I've shared this a couple times, and she already had some clarity, you know what I'm saying, but there were some residues, and we were just having this nice chat, and I said, there are no memories. And then the next day she messaged me in big font letters, there are no fucking memories.
I think apparently here that was all about this notion of the tiniest movement is a story.
It is.
And all of a sudden, everything kind of became clear, even though it's not really what happened, but it's like, okay, it's you can't even talk about it. It's
no, yeah.
It is.
Yeah. I should post. I don't know if you went to my last meeting, but you know, I had two sessions
yesterday,
and I was like, basically, I was saying, this is, and I just kept on kind of like, and I think that was the clearest opening because it was just really nothing to say. It was just this, and that's what seemingly was coming up, that it was just like this apparent, it can't even be said. It can't be talked about. But talking about is also what's happening, and there's nothing wrong or right about it because there's no one choosing to do any of this, right? So although this is completely pointless, kind of like you probably realize, you know, like, what's the point of talking to Emerson then? Because it's, you know, it's pointless. But that's
it's
also
just what's happening.
It's just what's happening. It's free that way. It's so free that it appears as whatever. I like that. That's what no one got it, but that's what apparently was gotten from that interaction with William. That I just kept on, because I think he got really frustrated because I just kept on saying, that's a story. That's just another book in a story of nothing. You're coming up with a story, and the one that's coming up is another story. So story's coming up with a story about a story about a story about this story. So it's just this circular story, and there's no way out of the story. So even at a microscopic level, it's a story.
Yeah.
The tiniest thought, everything. Brilliant, though, huh? So simple and brilliant at the same time. And that's just another story.
And yes, and I like when a few times I think you said that it's trying to hide, but it can't be hidden.
It can't be hidden. Yeah.
And this is it. It's like, yes, that's the that's the cosmic. It's not even a joke, but I mean, you know what I mean. It's like it's the biggest joke ever. It
is because you seem to be looking for it, but it appears as everything, so it can't hide. Because there's no you
even
looking
if you
for it,
wanted not to be it, even if you wanted not to, like this is me getting into the story, but
that's okay. That's okay.
William trying to believe that he's not. It's like it's boy.
It's just another story. Yeah.
This is brilliant.
It is.
It might appear as a bit harsh of me to laugh about that, but I can also see that it doesn't change the fact that it is, and it's absolutely, well, I will say perfect, but not in a story sense. It's just that it is. It's perfect because because it is.
It is. Yeah. Well, there's no one there. No one really out here anyway. There's no William. There's no.
Yeah,
and it's just
indeed.
And I like the brick wall analogy, right? Because I kept on hitting a brick wall over and over and over again in the story of Emerson. It was just brick wall, brick wall, brick wall, brick wall, until it seemed that who's hitting the brick wall? I'm just there's no one creating, but the story is just the creation of something that's uncreated. There's no brick wall, there's no Emerson, and the story is just Emerson hitting the brick wall, and that's just the story. That's the joke. No one is hitting a brick wall because there's no brick wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
every time I want to say it's, yeah, because it's prior to it, but it's
no,
that's not even it. It's
no, prior is just a story.
There's nothing more dualistic than say prior to. It's like it's
yeah,
it's nope.
that's I'm not going to mention the teacher, but when I used to be into the consciousness and awareness teaching, I used to kind of like go with the I used to kind of like, prior to consciousness, I want to be prior to it or abide in it. So which one is it?
Yeah.
And I almost felt schizophrenic, because I was like, I'm not abiding, I'm not, I am not that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong or right with teachings, there's nothing. It's just a story. It's just a story. And there's nothing wrong or right with a story.
I guess there's still a tiny bit of anger, I think. That is kind of, it's still a story that it's just emptiness appearing as anger, really. But
yeah, that's it.
But
yeah,
I felt like I've been, offered a carrot to follow. It's like,
yeah. That's what, and that's and anger is just whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's it's freedom appeering as anger, free to be anger. And there's nothing wrong or right about that. And the carrot is just a story anyway. And then trying to, it's just this a story.
This is so free that it can be free to be carroted.
That's right.
Word, but
I don't know if you saw my video that I released, a short film. Did you see that one?
I'm not sure. Is it like 5-6 minutes?
2 minutes, no, 2-3 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. I am not sure.
It has piano music, and it's just not me talking. It's just a poem and everything. And since it's just a story, so there's this poetry that, it's always been this way. But the video that was accompanying it was just visuals, visual storytelling of anger, frustration, relief, then laughter, and then what the fuck? So this is like the what the fuck. It's like, what the hell? Because it doesn't have a story, it doesn't have any history. It's just this uncreating. This is uncreating, because the apparent story is creating. So it doesn't have any opposite, but it seems like that this has never been created. And that's just a story as well. It's not about getting, but what's being expressed is this can't be figured out because it's unknown. So we create stories, and the one that's creating a story is just a story about something that is not a story into a story, and hoping that we can get the story of the one without the story. Again, it's just another circle. It's just the subtlest things, the most subtle things, as you mentioned, the most minute thing triggers the story into storytelling.
Yeah.
And it's just this, and it's no one's triggering it. It's just happening, but it's also not happening. It's so simple that it doesn't appear as a story. When I do this one-on-ones, usually and this is just a story as well, because no one falls away. When there's an apparent falling away, what the tendency is to look around. Because there's I don't know if you've seen some of my one-on-one videos. It's like
I've listened to some of them. There's two French women I would love to talk to. There's Guylaine, because she's actually done an interview with the two guys on the ashram, and I'm kind of thinking, even if it's just a story, but I think that she was mentioning them when she was saying, but they can't. I think I would love to talk to her just to have
I have her contact.
feedback.
Get you connected.
I'd love to, because I just want to have a feedback, because I've been so involved with those two guys that I don't.
There's nothing wrong or right about that. It's just a story.
There's absolutely, it was it was exactly as it was supposed to be when it happened. It's no worries about that. It's just I think that the wish to keep going with them is kind of falling away, because for now it's like, no, just
you know what, this character was really evolved. I was a teacher. I was so involved into the knowing the story, knowing the story, and there was a tendency to know, right? So this doesn't really know anything, and all of these words that are coming out are unknown. They're not even words. We just worded the word into a word, but it's not really a word. It's just a sound. It's not even a sound, because we just made a story that there's a sound and a word coming out, but it's really nothing.
And sorry, I just forgot what I was about to say.
No worries.
Tick.
There's no memory.
Well, that makes things easier. They talk about realizing the self, blah blah blah, being the absolute, blah blah blah. Again, nothing wrong with that. It's just just for me clarifying a few things. When I really, like, it really felt wrong, really, quote unquote, because it's not wrong, but it's when I heard one of them saying, oh, when you look at the sky, you look at blue. There's someone. Are you here? Can you hear
I'm
me?
here.
Yeah. Sorry about that. It's my
no
phone.
Worries. Yeah.
And he will say something like, I am the blue. I live the blue. But at the same time, he will say there's no one here doing anything. This is just happening. So there's kind of a radicality in what he's saying, but also things like you see an ant, and when it's realized it's not saying that this way entirely, but and this got me really confused at some points. Like, is there someone? You keep saying there's no one, and then you tell me that I've evolved ever since I met you because I've changed, and neurosis, blah blah blah. Everything, all I'm saying here is just, again, it's just a story. I can see that it's actually nothing appearing as a story, me talking to you right now, but at the same time, I just feel the need to talk about it to someone, just to clarify a few things. And
I did that.
To me,
I did it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, again, there's this subtle, it's kind of funny when this is seen, that sometimes it's seen as a glimpse, and then when knowing comes in, it becomes the really kind of like, subtle thing. It becomes dualistic, and they don't even see that it's dualistic because they are still in the dream. They're still in the illusion. So when it becomes kind of like, identification is a very tricky thing, right? So when somebody says, I am that, I am the blue, I am this, and I am that, it's coming from a place of, they think it's wholeness or completeness, but there's no I. So that's the radicality and the rareness of this communication, is that there's no I. There's no you.
Well,
and then
agreed.
It doesn't contradict what is being expressed. So this expression is really really simple. It's really non-dualistic. It doesn't really have an opposite, or doesn't have a subject object, right? I know that languaging can be really tricky and everything, but it just complicates it. It becomes the dangling carrot, because you want to be the blue. You want to be everything. You want to be consciousness. You want to be that. So it's this hope, is this subtle hope that I will lose my neurosis and all that kind of stuff. So it's the discarding, is the discarding of the completeness. The completeness. Everything is seen as this happening and unhappening, happening at the same time, but not really happening. Everything is seen as the unreal, real happening. So even if the I, I'm saying, or the you, it's seen as unreal. And there's no, it's just a story, because the I is the root of the story. And there's nothing wrong or right about that. Everything is a story.
Oh, yeah.
Root. It's just like, but yeah. Because
I've heard him. Sorry, there's another just example. What is being said is, I remember someone saying something like, "But there's nothing," and he says, "Oh yeah, there's some smart asses that will say that there's nothing, but who's there to see that there's nothing?" Then it's consciousness. It's absolute consciousness that is here.
Yeah. So the consciousness, comes from a dualistic thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard you. Yeah, I would love to. It's not entirely settled, this one. It's like, because I've been fed with that for 5 or 6 years. It's like so. I've heard you saying that consciousness or awareness points to duality, because you have to be someone to be aware. And what I've been kind of hearing is consciousness can be aware, by itself. It's so I've heard something different, so I'd love to hear.
For sure. So in the consciousness and the awareness kind of like mentality, it's a construct, because there's a mentality happening. There is even if you say that this is pure or absolute consciousness, or the whatever, who knows that? So it's just another construct, right? Even nothing is a construct, is what's being expressed here. No one knows what nothing is. But there is clarity here that there are no words that can describe this. So there's no position. There's no landing anywhere. There's no authority here, right? So when someone says that this is pure consciousness, it's just a little morphing of God again, or what they think is a God, into this absolute consciousness, absolute whatever. It has come into a landing, a destination, a path. You know what I'm saying? Although they'll say that there's no path and everything, but it seems like it's a very subtle, it's almost like an underground. It's a very tricky. It's subconsciously thinking that this is, that I am actually all of this pure consciousness. So it has gone into this delusion that it comes into, although you will say that it doesn't know anything, but it says there's only absolute consciousness. That's a position. There's also the absolute awareness. That's a position. That's just another knowing. And even if they say that, it's unknowable and everything, but this is all consciousness, who knows that? It's coming from.
I can feel the reassurance that you can find there. It's kind of.
It's hope. It's hope. It's this. It's this subtle kind of like, because I believed in the holy thing, right? I believed in first as a child, and this is just a story. I absolutely believed that I talked to Jesus, Mother Mary, and everything, being a Catholic and everything. And then in spirituality, I thought that I was a higher self. And then I got into, Advaita and everything. Then that became the higher self, became absolute consciousness. So they're holding on. Even if it's still a belief system. This is the collapse of belief, because there's no one believing here. It's very subtle, and I see how there's so much confusion about this, right? Because they're like, well, it's the same thing that they're talking about. I was teaching it. I was about to get. I was about to kind of like, someone kissed my feet, and then I became a mess, and all the story, all that kind of like, I get canceled as spiritual teacher. But if I played my cards right in the story, I would have an ashram right now.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like, this is kind of like saying, in the story, I'm like, oh my goodness, I've been teaching bullshit. Because people believe that I am in this higher consciousness now, that I achieved a different level. And I was believing in that level that I am blue, I am this, I am that. And everybody would like hold their heart and just kind of like, oh, wow, I want to get to where you are. So this communication pulls that fantasy.
I think that's what drew me to this communication is like, yeah, there's no way I really want that, as if there was really someone, you know, it's like there's no way, because it's my own absence. it's
yeah.
But at the same
it's like putting on another costume, that I am consciousness now, that I am awareness now. It's another costume, and in something that is nothing really. So it's making nothing into something really subtly, really subtle. And I know no one, you know, I get a lot of trolls of people that, and I click, you know, there's no one there, I don't really care, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I click, and of course they're into, you know, they're into the Advaita, and they're into the meditation, and it's just a threat to their apparent belief system. So this is a sharp knife into a belief system, and saying, what belief? There's no belief. All beliefs are empty. All beliefs are story. All realities are story. And that doesn't, and when there is someone in the story that believes that they are consciousness or whatever, it's really, it's almost kind of like, it's this stab. It's this kind of like, I don't want to listen to that. It's this resistance to this, or the criticism to this. But this completeness already, that's okay. Criticism, you know, abiding or whatever. It's just everything
no worries
is
about that.
It doesn't how do you say it? It doesn't it allows all the stories. It doesn't judge it, because there's no one judging and there's no one allowing at the same time. It's just, everything is just appearing as it is. So there's nothing wrong or right about anything.
No, it's just nothing appearing.
Yeah. I laugh a lot now at the stories of the past of what I used to do. It's really laughable now, because I used to be so ashamed and so much in conflict, you know, after that apparent, you know, teaching thing. It was just a lot of shame and a lot of suffering from that, right? Because I thought that I achieved absolute awareness at one point, and then when I lost it, that's the subtlety, right? Because there is a you that has to practice, that has to go to different levels. So there's a holding on to belief system. It's an attainment. And then they'll say that there's no attainment because everything is.
Yeah, no levels, no. One of them says, I have a lot of love for the both of them, because we've been, you know, sharing a lot. And so anyway, but one of them says something like, it's realization is consciousness becoming conscious of itself, being conscious.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of like awareness being aware of its awareness, you know, all that kind of, it's this circular thing.
Ding, ding. Yeah, it's like, this is really complicated.
That's dualistic, right? It's not non-duality. It's dualistic. It's dualistic. It's an understanding. And then you can ask, who knows that though?
Absolutely, first of all. And also the one thing that is apparently new is that it's this notion of, it's absolutely ungraspable. It's like I can see a tendency to wanting to kind of trying to, you know, it's like if my eyes wanted to see my hair in the back of my head, you know, trying to turn, you know, fast enough to see it. It's like this isn't an absolutely a story, but it's so nothing that you can kind of wonder, but is this really it? And yet at the same time, it's just, there's no question about it really.
Yeah, that's when I say too, it's a bit disappointing, because we've been fed all of this in the story about this grandiose, you know, you know, everything lights up, and you know, and there, you know, all that kind of bullshit, kind of like stuff. That's okay. There's nothing wrong or right about that.
No, nothing wrong about that.
Or I thought that I was going to be floating up in air, you know what I'm saying? That I'm going to be an ascended master, and then Jesus, Buddha, and Muhammad and Allah will show up before me, that kind of thing, you know what I'm saying? And then I am them. that kind of thing. So that's the secret wish. So enlightenment is, or this, awareness or consciousness is a thinly veiled of what it is to go to heaven. It's the promised land. It's the it's the mystical, or the Advaita version of what heaven is. That you have to attain it. That you have to go to righteousness.
They were talking
righteousness.
And they were.
That's why there's levels.
They were talking about the astral, and the body dies, but the story continues. Blah blah blah, and it's all anyway. There's no anger anymore here. It's like it's absolutely fine. It's just that it's funny. There's no emotions. There's no emotions about it. It's just that. But that's not it. It's
because emotions are also stories.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but it's and they're fine too. And no need to.
I used to have mentors when I was a spiritual teacher, and there's love for my mentors. You know what I'm saying? I can't talk to them now, obviously, because they are trapped. No one's trapped. There's this belief system of holiness and all that kind of stuff, and seeing that there's this individual soul and individual self, right? And but if I see them, I'll probably give them a big hug and say, how are you doing? And there's just a lot of love and respect. You know what I'm saying? Although there's no one there and there's no one to love, there's just this because it's just empty. There's no regret. You know what I'm saying? There's no anger, right? Because there seems to be an earnestness in what they're teaching, and it's free. It's free to be what it is, right? It doesn't have any resentment for those teachings.
Yeah, it's just
when I was a spiritual teacher,
kind of gone.
It's just this. It's just a relaxation, really. There's no more this neurotic kind of like tendency to kind of like what's wrong or what's right, or or typing into kind of like YouTube comments. I used to do that. You know what I'm saying? That is completely wrong. I laugh at of the troll, because I used to be a troll. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I used to kind of like go to this website that can't be, I deleted the account now, my troll account on YouTube.
Okay.
It's just a story, but this character used to troll all of this, trolls and everything, or this radical communication. You know what I'm saying? And or go to Facebook and do all that kind of stuff. And so now it's just a joke, because that story has even come full circle. You know what I'm saying? Because there's this seeing now that there's really no one there writing any of this. But there's deleting that happens as well. Delete.
This is gorgeous.
It is.
I think I saw somewhere that there was a retreat this weekend. I think I would love to join.
Yeah,
not sure if all.
It's
I
Friday,
don't know how.
Saturday, Sunday. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
I'll send it to you.
All right.
I'll send it to you. Yeah.
We are 6 hours apart, I think, so I'm not sure I'll be able to be there the whole thing, but I'll pop in.
It's just beautiful. I love doing the retreat and this long format, because there seems to be an exhaustion, with seeking and everything. And that's just a story. There's no purpose. There's no hope to this, but the seeking is exhausted at the end of it. And sometimes there's just this, I get a lot of usually a lot of people kind of like doing one-on-ones after that. And they're usually saying that, I did not hear anything of what you said, but there were some words that just, blocked me out. Kind of like what you're saying, listening to me, there's just like, what the hell? It's just, yours, I think, is just a subtle story that can and then someone said that when the moment that you said this, I know that you didn't say this, but in the apparent story, there's just this, she said, it's just this energetic, I don't understand it. And there's just a lot of laughter, or there's this confusion. There's this disorientation about it, because kind of like, in your story, there's a lot of people that are listening to this are coming from that background of consciousness and awareness and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of residue. And
yes,
there's usually clarification.
I think that's the reason. Yes, that's pretty much why I think I'm listening on and on. But it's really just pure joy. It's just every time you point out, but this is a story. Oh yes, this one is a story too. So I can see it's like I can. Yeah, there's no one here to see. That's
earlier today. Someone keeps on going back with you said that there's no 8.5 billion people out there. But how come I'm talking to you and my mom is in the other room and all this kind of stuff? And I said, well, the one that's perceiving all of this is a story. The one that is, seeing all of this reality is just a perception. So everything that it sees in their reality is unreal. Kind of like, I use the dream analogy. It's kind of like in a dream. No one can break into your dream and basically said, hey, you know what, Rapha, I was in your dream last night. And you'll be like, yes, what were we talking about? That's fantasy. I can't get into your thoughts and say that this is what you're thinking about. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no separate thoughts. There's no different realities. So I can go into your reality. I can never go to your reality because this is the only reality. And that reality is the story. The dream is a story. And there 8.5 billion people is a story.
Yes.
I can't jump into thoughts and and say that I can't be 100% sure that your reality is my reality, because this only perceives, well, there's no one here. In the dream, the perception is only this reality. It can't jump into your reality because there's just this singular illusory reality that's not really happening.
That's true. Indeed. Oh my God, yes, you're right.
Yeah. So everything that you're looking is blank space.
Yes.
Because there's no you that's looking at anything.
It's funny because in a way it makes way more sense that there's nothing rather than it's all consciousness.
Yes.
I know it's a story there, but it's of course there's nothing. It's
simple. It's simple. It's not this complicated.
It's the simplest
holiness.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what a lot of a lot of residues with a lot of this teaching are the dualistic, is that the moment that there is this consciousness or awareness or I am that, right away there's this specialness about it. There's this holiness. Yes. There's this level. There's this, I'm abiding.
Absolutely, and I could feel in the story. I could feel that when I was trying to see, let's say, well, there's a presence, an empty presence, okay, and then I could see, and I am that, and I could see how difficult it was to actually try and identify. Yeah. It's like, how can I identify? It's like there's no one. So anyway, you got me, but it's I could feel there was something wrong there. It's like, no, it's like there's something absolutely impersonal with that, and it's absolutely fine.
It is. It's a very impersonal. This communication is impersonal. It's not. It doesn't claim anything. It doesn't have any authority. It doesn't have a lineage. It doesn't have a holy being that this came from, because this came from nothing.
Yes.
Well, this doesn't really come from nothing. It's just this.
It is. Yeah. Yes. It's not even coming from. It's actually just.
See how the self-correction happens right away, because it doesn't know anything, right? It's just this kind of like, it's like, oh, yeah.
It's like it's nope.
It's a subtle story. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we've gone way past half an hour.
No worries. I'm good. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording.